There's no shame whatsoever in adjusting your course. The shame is in staying stuck because of your pride, staying stuck in something that is no longer working all the way for the season you're in.
You're listening to Side Hustle Pro, the podcast that teaches you to build and grow your side hustle from passion project to profitable business. And I'm your host, Nicaila Matthews Okome. So let's get started.
Hey friends, hey, welcome back to the show. It's Nicaila here, back with another episode. And thank y'all so much for rocking with me on these expansion era solo episodes. So many of y'all have reached out to me. You see yourselves, you hear what you've been going through, you feel seen, and I so appreciate you letting me know. And today I want to talk about something. I wasn't sure I was going to share this, but we're friends. I promised I would be real and keep it 100% honest with you. So I'm going to share something that's real, like literally just, an experience that happened yesterday. And I'm sharing this because my hope with this series is for y'all to really see me expand, to go from a really stressful chapter phase in my life where I'm not sure how it will all work out to it working out a little bit more, to the dreams that I have for my life. That's what I hope to show you on this journey. So let's get into it. So first of all, this episode is called Why Pivoting Isn't Failure. And I used to think pivoting meant I had failed, that if I started down one path and then shifted directions, it was proof that I wasn't cut out for it, whatever I set out to do, right? And maybe you've thought the same thing, because we live in this culture that praises what looks like the straight line, and it praises accomplishment. Nobody really praises, oh, you were going through it and you stuck with it. People like a little neat story arc, and the person who picked one thing, stuck with it, and climbed straight to the top. That's how it's positioned. Like, no, I don't think anyone's story is ever truly like that. But again, success, all that kind of stuff, it rises to the top of the news feed, of the timeline, all that. But let me tell you, that is not real life. Real life is twists, turns, restarts, reimaginings. And so I have learned that pivoting isn't failure. Pivoting is feedback. Pivoting is wisdom. Pivoting is courage. And right now I'm in the middle of a new pivot season. So again, let me keep it real with you. And speaking of the pivot, I have my friend Chantel reminded me one time. She was like, well, girl, your path has never been straight. I think it was when I graduated from business school and I was still trying to figure it out. And she was like, oh, this tracks. Your path has never been straight. And I'm like, that is true. And also, second funny story is, I don't know if you know the show Power from Stars, Ghost, James St. Patrick, all that good stuff. I love the theme song of that. Joe sings, I never took a straight path nowhere. And every time I hear it, it's just a reminder, like, that's me too. So anyway, here's where the pivot comes in, y'all. Dun, dun, dun. So yesterday I applied for a job. All right, let me give you some context. This is actually not the first job that I've applied to this year. I haven't been sending out dozens of applications. I haven't been applying each and every week and day and anything like that. But since August, I've only applied for roles that feel divinely aligned. What I mean by that is that I have been praying for clarity, praying for direction in this season, and praying for a little more financial breathing room now that I have two littles. If you've been rocking with me for a while, first of all, shout out to you OGs. You know that I did not have any children. I was engaged to Moyo, getting ready to get married, but I really had just so much freedom and flexibility in life. I was only responsible for myself, pretty much. And so when I was looking at finances and thinking, like, yeah, I knew I wanted to have kids and a family and all that stuff, but I didn't truly like live and act as if I had kids at that time. And I also had no concept of what it would truly feel like. You don't know until you know. So I am in a different season. And I first have to acknowledge that in this whole aspect of feeling like pivoting isn't failure, because I literally have already pivoted. I've pivoted from being a single woman, only having to think about myself, to now having to think about two little babies. So it's natural that I have to pivot business-wise a little bit to support my new life, right? So I have been praying for these things. Like I said, clarity, direction, and a little more financial breathing room. And then this role just dropped into my lap in the wildest way. I was watching another YouTuber, one of my YouTube girls, I call them, but it's a new YouTuber. She's someone that just came across my algorithm and I was like, oh, let me check her out. Like her storytelling style and her raw, real style. And she's super real because guess what? She was sharing about a position that she was applying for. And she actually pulled it up on the screen and she showed the job description on the screen. And good luck to you girls. Thank you for sharing it. But when I saw the job description, I kind of froze like, wait, hold up. Because I realized I've been using this brand company since 2017. Like this is a company I use in my business and I've admired their founder for years. I love the dashboard. I talk about it in my business all the time in my webinars, what I use. So I was just like, wait a second, this role would be perfect for me, not just because I use the product, but what they were asking for. This is what I do. I do this. And the role is 100% remote. So it felt like God was saying, pay attention, because everything I've been praying for and thinking about in terms of, okay, what would it look like to have a little bit more stability with a role, but how am I going to do that and juggle our schedule and all of that? Like I just cannot go into an office right now. And it's like God said, well, look at this. So I did what I've been encouraging you all to do in this season. I took action. I finally purchased the Etsy resume template that I'd been eyeing. I mentioned that a few episodes back. I bought a resume template. I customized it. I partnered with ChatGPT to sharpen the language and I hit submit. And I said to myself, I think I'm perfect for this role. If they hit me back, again, divine timing, divine alignment. And that was that. And before I hit that button, a flood of questions came up. And I want to say these out loud because I know somebody listening has felt the same thing. So I said to myself, am I a failure if I get a job? Does this erase everything that I've built with Side Hustle Pro? Will people trust me as a coach anymore? What will people think? Will they talk about me? Like, I knew she couldn't do it. Ha! See, you always talking about entrepreneurship. I knew it. Those questions were loud. The noise was loud immediately. And I also felt deeply amidst all of that again, like there was a reason this role was brought to my attention in such an odd, random way. Like literally, I just came across this YouTuber and I just happened to press the video. I'm not usually watching YouTube videos at that time. It was just too divinely ordained. And I also felt deeply that, again, I'm a dream candidate for this role. And the reason I know that is because of my podcast. So as the founder and host of Side Hustle Pro, I have grown the show, which started in my living room, then my closet, to a platform with over 10 million downloads, a big email list, 6-figure brand deals, and it's trained me in building community, crafting content that connects, and turning storytelling into sales. I sound like a resume, right? But to flex a little bit. So I've learned how to grow brands across social media, how to run campaigns that convert viewers and followers on social media into clients, and how to use data to refine the content to convert even better. And I've learned how to foster trust with an audience over time. And I've learned how to take an idea, nurture it, and make it sustainable. I've learned how to do this for myself. I absolutely want to keep doing this for myself. I just want some breathing room. Because what if I don't want to run a webinar this week? What if I want to take a break and a vacation? I don't want to be choosing between money and rest. So if I do get this job, ironically, it will be because of Side Hustle Pro. It will be because of my podcast. The very thing that seems like it would, prevent this kind of pivot is actually what makes me qualified for this next step. And on the practical side, I want a little more stability. Like I said, I want to breathe, to thrive, not just survive in New York City. Ever since we moved back, that's the one thing I say to myself. I want to thrive, not just survive here. Anytime I'm just like looking around and we're just like driving down to FDR, like just driving along like the piers and all that stuff, I'm like, everyone just seems so carefree. Some of the, when you walk past brownstones and things like that, and you're just reminded that there are people in this city who don't think about money at all. And I want to be one of them. And I'm okay with admitting that. I want to stack my kids' 529s. I want to build my investments even more, my retirement, not worry about money, not worry about the future. And I want to work toward buying here in New York, buying real estate in New York. So taking a role would not erase my entrepreneurial journey is what I ultimately came to. That kind of pivot would not negate the fact that I'm an entrepreneur. It would not negate everything I've built. It would only fund it. Hello. It fuels it. It gives me space to think bigger and plan longer. Since I am bootstrapping my business, it would help me fund it. We talked about capital before, right? There's 2 ways to fund your business, your money or somebody else's money. I do not plan on taking venture funding at this time. So that means I got to fund it with my money, which is still also kind of somebody else's money if I'm getting a job, but I digress. So let's talk about some of the lessons, right? The lessons that I had to really learn and get down in my body and my soul in this expansion era season to train my mind to understand that pivoting isn't failure. Lesson number 1 is just that. Pivoting is not failure, it's feedback. So every pivot gives you data, clarity, and direction. What worked? What didn't work? And what do I need to make this successful in the future? It means I'm listening and adjusting. Think about it. Side Hustle Pro itself was a pivot. Before I launched a podcast, I had tried different blog ideas, different business ideas, and I kept pivoting until I landed on something that stuck. The blog turned into a podcast, and I tested out many different revenue streams before I solidified them and then was able to build them up to replace my income and then quit my job too. So none of that I was doing before was wasted time. It was informing what I would ultimately do. So it was gathering feedback. So it's honestly what we tell our kids, right? And what I plan to teach my kids, that falling down isn't failing, that every mistake is a lesson, and that this is how you grow. This is how you learn. This is how you build a muscle. And if I would share that with them, and if I would tell them that, why do I struggle to believe it myself, right? I can't. I have to remember that pivoting is not failure. It's feedback. And low-key becoming a parent is like, it's the wildest thing because you have these little people and you have to be their coach in life. You have to be their biggest ally, just their biggest supporter. And so you find yourself saying all these things and then you look at yourself like, wait a minute, am I practicing what I'm preaching? Am I believing this? Because I would never tell my son or my daughter, oh, you're a failure. No, I'd be like, that's okay. You tried. I'm proud of you. You should be proud of yourself. Now we learn. All right, what are we going to do next? That's how I would speak to them. So that's how I have to speak to myself. Lesson 2 is that every pivot stacks. Nothing is wasted. When I left corporate, I thought, okay, all these years, how do they all come together? I kind of knew, obviously last job at NPR, learned a ton about the podcasting industry and what I wanted to do. So all of those skills came into play every single day, even project management, course storytelling, communications, leadership. They didn't go away when I became a podcaster full time. They got repurposed. And that's what I also always remind everyone, that the skills you use for work and the work you do for other people, you own them. That company doesn't own them. So as you're side hustling and thinking about what will I do next, think back to what you do for other people. You can do that for yourself. So it's the same thing with me now. If I pivot into this role, I'm definitely not erasing my podcast or my business. The role is actually very aligned, again, with what I do. I'm not trying to give it away, but it's actually bringing all the experience I've been doing with me. I'm bringing everything I've learned and I'm applying it and helping this company grow their own business in this area. So I'm bringing my superpower, and knowing how to create content that connects and converts has become my superpower. How cool is that? And so, yeah, that's the beauty of pivots. They stack, they layer, they make you multidimensional. Lesson 3 is that shame comes from comparison, not truth. So comparison is a tricky little thing. It will trick you into thinking that you're behind when you are really right on target, right on track with where God wants you to be. And so many times what's really harmful about comparison is the fact that you don't even know what you're comparing yourself to. You're comparing yourself to a reality that you think is real based on posts online when you have no idea what's actually going on. So that's what's the most harmful and detrimental about comparison. Like you don't even know what you're comparing to. You're comparing yourself to like a fake reality. So you can't, so sometimes in this season, it can feel like, oh, other businesses, they're doing fine. They're not experiencing like this much volatility. And that's not true. A lot of people are going through it right now. We are in a crazy time, crazy economy. And it's just a result of everything going on from administration down to the economy to the tariffs. Everybody is having to pivot. They just don't always announce it. People rebrand, people shift their offerings, people change jobs, people get jobs again. But online, it looks like this straight line or whatever. And just stop looking, just stop comparing. Because that's when pivoting starts to feel shameful, because we're comparing our full story to someone else's glimpses of a false reality, aka the highlight reel, as people like to say. So there's no shame whatsoever in adjusting your course. The shame is in staying stuck because of your pride, staying stuck in something that is no longer working all the way for the season you're in. Again, I started something in a season when I was single, carefree, and now I'm in a season where I have a whole lot of responsibility. So obviously some things have to shift. So there is no shame in that. Shame would be staying stuck because of pride in who I think I should be and what I think I should be doing right now. And then let's get into lesson number 4. Lesson number 4 that I've learned so far is that pivoting is proof that you're still in motion. I don't like to call things failure, but if we're going to call anything failure, I'm going to say stagnation is the real failure. Pivoting shows that you're still growing, you're still expanding, you're still willing to move forward, you're still willing to learn, you're still willing to try, you are going to persevere. Those are all the traits of a pivoter. So I think about this a lot as a mom because I want my kids to see me as someone who tries, who experiments, who listens when God redirects her, who prays to God, who listens to God. And I don't want them to see someone stuck, afraid to move because of what people might think. I don't want them to care what people think at all. And so I have to practice that and I have to model that. Everybody knows that if you're taking action, that means you are in the game. You're choosing to keep building. Even if it looks different than the way you pictured, I'm proud of you and I'm proud of me because we're in the arena and we're in the game and we're doing something and we're trying. So pat yourself on the back, just like I'm patting myself on the back, because one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to figure it out for these kids. One thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make something happen. I'm going to make something shake. And then finally, lesson 5 is your pivots are preparation for your next expansion. Looking back, every single pivot I've made has prepared me for something I couldn't see at the time. And that's why this role is also exciting, because I can just see just doing so many awesome creative things in the role with the company. I'm excited for what we can create together. I'm excited to really highlight being a side hustle pro again, if that makes sense. Like, it would actually be exciting to encourage people again, like, look, I am side hustling and doing this. You can do this too. So I'm excited. When I started Side Hustle Pro, I had no idea it would one day open doors for me, like to coach others, brand deals, and now possibly a role at a company I've admired for years. Like, that's crazy. And I low-key want to think about it as like my client. Like, I also want to one day, consult in corporate. So like, is this my first client? Maybe. So that's another way too. Pivoting can involve tricking your brain into being Delulu. You know what they say online, Delulu till it's true. Anyway. So podcasting has been incredible. It's still incredible. Just today I had a coaching call with my Podcast Moguls group coaching students. And someone asked me, all right, so what would you say about the industry right now? Is it surging? Is it oversaturated? And I just couldn't emphasize enough how much it is surging. It is hot. Get into podcasting right now. No, it's not oversaturated, okay? It's like no one ever says TV or film is oversaturated. Like, consumers watch a movie, they need the next one. Consumers stream a show on Netflix, they need another show to stream after it. They binge it. Consumers watch a season of a show, they need another show now that the season is over, right? Same thing with podcasting. You listen to your favorite show, all right, cool. What's the next episode? They're not going to put out another one till a couple days or the next week. So no, podcasting is not oversaturated, but you do have to work hard. You have to market your show. You have to put in the work to make it be heard and seen. It's not just going to be discovered by itself. So I didn't know that podcasting would be this classroom of sorts that taught me or made me pursue learning more, like about content strategy, about community building, about conversion. I didn't know it would teach me so much resilience, but it has. It really, really has. So even if this role comes through or if it doesn't, I know the pivot wasn't wasted. I know also opening myself up to do whatever it takes to thrive like I want to. I'm proud of myself for that as well, because I think when you have a openness to life like that and kind of a growth mindset in that regard, good things will happen to you and good things will come. And I'm so proud of myself for being open and again, not staying stuck and closed-minded because of some image that I want to portray. I never want to portray an image. I just want to be a real human and to show y'all like, this is the journey. This is the path. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. All right. So yeah, everything counts. Nothing's wasted. The act of applying was preparation. The act of customizing my resume, of revisiting my skills, of positioning myself, all of that was sharpening me for what's next. And best believe if I get this role, we need to have some kind of I don't want to call it a class because there's nothing like, I don't want to start a course on this or nothing, but there's got to be some kind of debrief on what I did because I hope it can be helpful to somebody else and how the podcast helped me in this process. So if it does happen, stay tuned. I'd love to do that, answer questions, share my resume template, all that jazz. And even share how I use ChatGPT to thought partner, not write and do everything for me now because that ain't the move. And number one, everyone can tell. So you got to put yourself into it. But use AI to partner to make your life easier and to help you say what you want to say. All right. So in closing, I want to say that if you're in a pivot season, don't shrink, don't run from it, don't hide, don't cower in shame. Okay. Do not be ashamed of the change. Don't think it negates your past work or negates who you are. Do not start to spiral into this identity shift breakdown because of the transition. Life is about transitions. And just remember that every pivot prepares you for the season you're in now and the season you're going to be in. Pivoting isn't failure. Pivoting is expansion. And what season are we in? Expansion season. This is an expansion era. And if my story tells you anything, if me sharing my most recent experience tells you anything, it's this: God can use every single pivot. What feels like a detour might be the exact road you were meant to travel. If it feels like, why is this happening to me? It means this is the road you need to travel. Okay? So if you're in a pivot season and you're trying to find that bridge to your next opportunity, finally starting or growing your podcast can be that bridge to the next opportunity. My podcast has literally opened doors I couldn't imagine. My podcast was the first bullet on my new resume. My podcast, fun fact, as we speak, my podcast already got me a call for an HR screen for the role. I applied yesterday night, y'all. It can do the same for you. That's why I'm inviting you to join me for my live class, Start the Podcast That Builds Your Exit Plan and frees you from the career you've outgrown. You can register right now at podcastmoguls.com. I'll also link it in the description, all right? Because your next chapter, your pivot, your expansion, it could be just one podcast episode away. I'll talk to you next week.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Side Hustle Pro. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other side hustlers just like you to find the show. And if you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Side Hustle Pro. Plus, sign up for my 6-bullet Saturday newsletter at sidehustlepro.co/newsletter. When you sign up, you will receive weekly nuggets from me, including what I'm up to, personal lessons, and my business tip of the a week. Again, that's sidehustlepro.co/newsletter to sign up. Talk to you soon.